Hello YouTube. Sorry for not putting out more content lately. Life has been pretty busy, and sadly YouTube is not at the top of the totem pole when it comes to my life priorities. If you missed my charming personality and insightful commentary, which I suspect is extremely unlikely, you can find me relatively often on Twitter, where I tend to comment on things not worth making an entire video on. This topic is an exception, as I've tweeted about it and I'm making a video. Like many of you, I'm getting sick of the social justice community, and thus seemingly most of Western media, continually pushing the retconning of existing characters in order to make them more quote-unquote diverse. The latest examples of this are a suggestion that Gillian Anderson of X-Files fame should be the next Bond, and the suggestion that Captain America should have a boyfriend. I'll use the second as a case study because at the time I made this video, it was the #2 trend in the US on Twitter. I actually haven't seen the latest Captain America movie. I want to, but as I said, I just haven't had the time. Anyways, apparently in the film, there's a really close relationship between Captain America and the character Bucky. Now, normally, writers of fanfic would use this as fodder for their work and would ship the two together and create stories of their romance. Gay fanfiction is certainly not a new concept. That's perfectly fine with me. That's great, people using their creativity and their imagination to have characters do what they want them to do. I have no problem with that. But what is new is people taking these personal fantasies and demanding that they be made canon. The justification used for this is that it provides role models for young gay men and is more representation of gay people in the media, which of course is always a good thing, right? Now, there are a few problems with this. The first is the idea that role models in media need to have the same identity characteristics as the person consuming the media. And to me, that's utterly ridiculous, unless the viewer's mind has been so poisoned by identity politics that they are the identity characteristic. I admit that this has become quite common, especially in some gay communities, but in my view, we should be pushing people away from this idea, because as far as I'm concerned, your beliefs, opinions, and personality traits should matter a lot more than your gender, race, or sexual orientation when it comes to how people relate to you or to one another, and how they choose role models. And on top of this, young gay people already have a ton of representation in the media. In fact, it's difficult to find a TV show that does not have a gay character, despite the fact that in the US, no matter which numbers you use, the percentage of the population that is homosexual falls well under 5%. What that tells me is that gay men are already way overrepresented in the media. But can you imagine if only 5% of TV and movie characters were homosexual? There would be a massive uproar. And this is a major issue with identity politics. It makes issues that actually affect a tiny proportion of the population and makes them major issues that everyone has to deal with. For example, transgender people likely make up less than 1% of the population, yet according to social justice types, the 99% of the population who aren't trans must adjust to that tiny percentage of those who are, and their issues must be pushed to the front of the order in terms of social change. So the representation argument, in my opinion, is complete horseshit. The other issue I have with this particular example is that anytime you see two men engaged in a close heterosexual friendship, there is the assumption that they must be gay. There are many reasons for this, but one is certainly the current disdain in society, largely from feminists, of masculinity. Having a close relationship with other men is an extremely normal and healthy part of being a man, and they can be some of the best relationships a man will ever have in his life. But there are parts of society who are unwilling to recognize the positive aspects of male relationships. See, the social justice part of society is just simply unwilling or maybe unable to acknowledge most positive aspects of traditional masculinity. Competitiveness is recast as dangerous aggression, protectiveness is recast as misogyny, and close male friendships are recast as only existing due to secret homosexual feelings. If we want to talk about people needing role models, how about young straight men? Yes, of course, they are highly represented in films and movies, and they should be, given their percentage of the population. But what we could use more of is strong male heterosexual friendships based on mutual love and respect. One of the best TV shows ever at addressing this was Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where the relationship between Chief O'Brien and Dr. Bashir grew into one stronger in many ways than the one O'Brien had with his wife. That relationship is one of the few I've seen in TV or movies that felt like the genuine friendships I've seen and experienced between psychologically healthy men. But if the social justice crew got their way, we would never see such relationships, because the second a relationship like that formed, the character would be turned gay and it would become a romantic relationship. And it doesn't surprise me when the creators of the characters bow to what they see as public pressure and make the change. I honestly would not be surprised to see a gay Captain America or a female Bond in the near future, because as far as the creators can see, the majority of people support these changes. The reason it seems that way is because, in the case of Captain America, anyone who disagrees can be branded as homophobic or as a straight male feeling insecure. You saw the same thing with the Ghostbusters movie. Anyone who had any issue with the gender swap was immediately branded as sexist and no longer taken seriously by large numbers of people. What this does is create a false consensus because many people are afraid of the consequences of voicing dissent. We've seen this again and again with pretty much every issue relating to social justice, where a small vocal minority is seen as the majority, because anyone who disagrees with them can be branded something horrible and dismissed. What ends this cycle is if we as a society stop believing someone is racist, sexist, or homophobic just because the media, social or otherwise, has branded them as such. Methods also need to be used that allow people to voice their opinions without any risk to their reputation. For example, I feel confident that an anonymous poll done by Marvel would find that the majority of fans do not want Captain America to have a boyfriend. People obsessed with pushing identity politics are not likely to stop anytime soon. But if the rest of us keep pointing out the bullshit, and if a few brave people are willing to do so under their real names, then maybe these social justice types can start to be seen as the minority they really are. So keep up the good fight, everyone. I'm Positive Improvement, and I wish you all the best.